Hi, my name's Gary Bromham. I'm a songwriter, producer and a mix engineer. I started my career at Tileyard Studios in Soho and functioned as a tape op and also as a programmer. I've worked with various artists as eclectic as George Michael and Sheryl Crow. Indeed, with George Michael, this came about through me producing and writing the solo album from Andrew Ridgeley, his band partner in Wham. I then worked at Olympic Studios for a period of about 10 years, working with various artists. The legacy of Nord really is an amazingly broad one. I think when I go back to the Nord Lead 1, which was really the first virtual analog synth I ever bought, that along with the Access Virus and the Novation Supernova really were my main three synths for a long period. And I can remember hearing the Big Brother theme that Paul Oakenfold and Paul Gray did together. I remember hearing those and thinking that the sound of an Nord Lead 1 was all over that. And it was very interesting for me how not only the idea of analog technology having a kind of retro or a nostalgic feel to it, but also the idea that a digital synth could also feel very warm and analog. The riff that you heard at the beginning there was me just playing my Nord Lead 2, which has a great rich sound. There's still sounds on that synth that I can't get from anything else. So what you heard there was a couple of examples of sounds taken from my Nord Lead 4. The idea of contrast, one was very, very gnarly and digital and almost quite nasty. And the other one was very mellow, almost Oberheim Prophet-esque, paying particular homage to something from Japan you may have heard before. But the idea of being able to create both extremes with sound, I really absolutely adore the Nord Lead 4. I think it's a fantastic synth, very underrated synth. And I still use it every day in my productions. So where all of this comes together for me is the Nord Wave 2, and also with the introduction of sampling capabilities. My first thought was, okay, so great, any of these sounds in the Nord Lead 4, 3, 2, 1, I can sample them and I can bring them into the Nord Wave. The effects on the Nord Wave 2, as with many of the features, are absolutely stunning. What we're going to do now is we're just going to have a little look at me sampling a sound from my Nord Lead 4 and manipulating that on the wave. Okay, so I have a sound here on my Nord Lead 4. Pretty simple kind of pad sound with the filter quite open. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the sample editor 4. I'm going to arm the program. I'm just going to play that note, middle C. Just let it decay out naturally. Okay, I'm just going to stop that. Okay, so we've captured the sample. Simple as transferring it over to the Nord Wave. I now have the sound. I now have captured the sample. Very, very simple process. I'm going to manipulate that as I would with any other sound. Just change the filter. Bring up the resonance, maybe add a little more decay. Just bring up the release, the sustain. Open the filter a little more. And then maybe we'll add some reverb to the sound. I'm going to go for the Cathedral because I love the sound of the Cathedral reverb. I'm going to add the chorale to add some kind of wave, sort of waviness to the end of the sound. Modulation. Simple as that. So all we've done is we ported a sound over from the Nord Lead 4 to the Nord Wave 2, and I've just changed it in a few ways that sound pleasant to me. Another phenomenal feature of the Nord Wave 2, and in my mind very underrated, is the arpeggiator, or I say I'm almost underselling it just calling it an arpeggiator. There's a fantastic pattern mode, which is almost like a very simple kind of step sequencer. And also the gate mode, the poly mode, just being able to play back patterns with not only single notes, but also with chords. So look, we're going to just take a little look at that now. So I've got a very simple sort of pluck sound here. Maybe we'll just close the filter down a little. So it's quite a sort of a tacky sound anyway. So if I run the arpeggiator, I can change the range of that, as you would with any normal arpeggiator here. I can change the gating. One of the cool features here is we can also play the arpeggiator in poly mode. So if we just have a little listen to that. So it's a great way of kind of augmenting your creativity. Another feature that I found really striking about the Nord Wave 2 was its ability to integrate into a mix. And I've been working on an album of my own material, and certainly with a couple of the songs, Kaleidoscope and another song called Dreamer, those sounds really became pivotal parts of the songs when I was writing them. I've been making an album of my own material called It's All Noise, which makes extensive use of the Nord Wave 2. The first track, Dreamer, I created a slightly distorted, wavery kind of pad sound, which I've called Polycanadia 3. It also makes good use of the distortion in the effects section and the choral setting in the reverb. There's no denying. I sometimes run and chase. Sometimes run and chase the views and dream of you. There's another track on the album called Kaleidoscope, which really kind of takes a leaf out of the book of the minimalists, particularly Steve Reich, and it's a kind of repetitive, arpeggiated phrase, and I created a sound on the Nord Wave 2 for this. So very recently, I've been using the Nord Stage 4 keyboard, which is another phenomenal keyboard from Nord. And I was really very interested to see how close the Nord Wave 2 synthesis engine is to that on the Nord Stage 4. The challenge for me was, could I replicate a sound on the Nord 4 keyboard taken from the Nord Wave 2? So we're going to take a little look at that now and see how closely I can replicate those sounds. What we've got here, we've got the Nord Wave 2 set up with the new Nord Stage 4. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create patch on both of the synth section from the Nord Stage 4 and the synth Nord Wave 2 at the same time. So I'm just going to go up to the Super Saw section, and I'm going to do a similar thing down here. I'm just going to introduce a little bit of detune to both of those sounds. So we've got a little fatter kind of sound here. Okay, I'm also going to switch on the unison feature because I really like this. This reminds me of the Juno 60. I'm going to do that on both synths. Makes them sound a little bit fatter. I'm just going to adjust the envelope a little up here on the Wave 2. Maybe I'm just going to close the filter. A little bit of resonance. Let's do a similar thing. So I'm just going to extend the release. Similarly with the filter. A little bit of resonance there. Now I'm going to introduce a little bit of reverb. I'm going to put on the trusted friend, the chorale sound, because I love it. Let's do a similar thing on the stage. Let's adjust the dry and the wet here. Different chord, but there you go. It's a little bit more reverb, but you can hear intrinsically those two sounds are the same. We've talked about so many different aspects of Nord synthesizers and Nord keyboards today, and the heritage of Nord really is a vast and a creative one, and I just love the fact that it's one knob per function. I don't have to dive into loads of menus, and it's a great way of just creating sounds intuitively and quickly. The interface and the usability and the interaction are all fantastic, and sonically they acknowledge the past, whereas they're also progressive and they look towards the future. Fantastic instruments.